the Scarlet Lolo cooking show. Welcome!
Hello and welcome to the Scarlet Lolo cooking show. Today it's summer, it's late summer and we've been harvesting loads. There are some wonderful tomatoes. It's tomato year. We're in 2022 and this year we had loads of tomatoes because the temperatures have been higher than usual and tomatoes like heat.
Every now and then an excess of product is sold off cheaply. Here's something you can do with tomatoes, for example.
This year I planted 3 types of tomatoes. I had these big flesh tomatoes and tigerella, which are really easy to grow down here in Sussex, and also these little yellow bush tomatoes.
The variety is called Golden Ripple and they grow quite wild, but they're very prolific. I had at least 10 loads like this. They are very
small and sweet and they're great in salads. So apart from that, we've harvested onions, blackberries, loads of lovely blackberries, raspberries. The end of the raspberry harvest now. We had raspberries from May through to the end of August, but we're now coming to the end of the season. I have 2 varieties of raspberry bushes. Well, one is a raspberry, one is a tayberry, and the tayberries come in quite early in the year, sort of May, June, July, and the raspberries came in later, so it was wonderful to have months and months of harvesting raspberries, which are quite expensive in the shops, so that was brilliant. And also I've had quite a lot of artichokes, globe artichokes, and I'm now going to boil those. When they start opening up, it really is time to harvest them. So these were the last 6 from my plants, and I'm now going to boil them all. Unfortunately, they take a long time to boil, about 40-45 minutes. But here we go. I've got water boiling, so I'm just going to drop those in.
I will remove the hearts and pickle them once they're boiled. But now back to the tomatoes, which there are plenty of.
I've got so many tomatoes and I really don't want to waste them, so I'm going to make some tomato sauce that can be frozen and then used later on in the year. I've also harvested quite a lot of beautiful basil. So basil goes perfectly well with tomatoes. It grows well with tomatoes, but it also tastes really nice with tomatoes. So I'm going to do a lot of choppery. At the same time, I'm going to save some seeds from these. The nicest tomatoes, the biggest and nicest tomatoes, I save the seeds for the next year. So I put them in cups with water. I let them stand in water for a couple of days. Then I strain them and I put them on a plate and dry them out. And then put them in little bags. This is what they call blossom end rot, and it happens when the tomatoes get a little dry, but it doesn't impair the flavor. You just have to cut it off.
Tomatoes were first cultivated in Western South America. They're known to be grown by Aztec cultures.
Those are really nice.
Spanish explorers brought them to Europe and they then spread widely. Tomatoes are loaded with a substance called lycopene. It gives them their bright red color and helps protect them from ultraviolet rays of the sun. Much the same way, it can help protect your cells from damage. Tomatoes also have potassium, vitamin B and E, and other nutrients. 140 grams of tomato has a GI index of less than 15, which makes it a low GI food and an excellent food for diabetics.
Now onto the tigerellas. I'm going to chop them up to make a sauce. I always like to take out the stem because it's quite hard, and even in a sauce it's not nice to have something hard and chewy in there. I think you've got the idea. I'm going to carry on and do the rest of the tomatoes, and I'll be back with you.
1 cup of chopped or sliced raw tomatoes contains 32 calories, 170 grams of water, 1.6 grams of protein, 2.2 grams of fiber, 5.8 grams of carbohydrate, and 0 grams of cholesterol. If you pick them with the stem attached still, they will last a little longer. Right, so there's quite a nice amount.
I've chopped up the tomatoes, got a whole bowl full, and I'm now gonna chop some onions and some garlic and give that a little fry in olive oil, then put in the tomatoes, and that is pretty much it. A little bit of herbs and it goes into bags in the freezer. The choppery is going to be in fast forward as usual. I've wetted my board so that I won't cry too much.
So between the onion and the garlic and the basil and marjoram, we've got some classic Italian flavors going here. This will work for a whole range of dishes that require a tomato-based sauce. It could be a lasagna, a pizza, spaghetti bolognese, aubergine dishes, or soup. You can add some chili if you like heat and turn it into a salsa.
I'm just peeling the garlic for the garlic press.
Garlic is a great booster for your body's immune system. It can help reduce high blood pressure and cholesterol levels, combined with an otherwise healthy diet.
I'm going to give those a little rinse.
Garlic is probably most effective if you eat it raw on an empty stomach.
I'm frying the onion and I'm now going to add in the garlic.
Personally, I prefer the flavor of garlic when it's lightly fried.
So I've also harvested a whole bunch of fresh basil leaves, and I'm now going to chop those up whilst the onion and the garlic are frying. I like to slow fry the onions. Very nearly ready. Okay, let's chop some basil.
Fresh basil contains vitamin A, vitamin K, iron, manganese, calcium, and essential oils.
We're now back to the cooker. So the onions are just beginning to stick to the pan, and I would call them done. I'm now going to add in the tomatoes.
This is where the flavors become stronger and are starting to amalgamate. None of this will be heated for very long because that would reduce the vitamins.
Can you give that 5 minutes before I add in the basil? So the tomatoes have been boiling away with the onions and garlic, gentle heat. And I'm now going to add some tomato concentrate from a tube, about half a tube for that amount. I'm going to give this a bit of a mix through. This is looking really lovely. And I'm now adding the herbs. Basil and golden marjoram, fresh herbs, are now going in, and I really don't want the herbs to have too much heat. So I'm just gonna give this a quick stir through, turn the heat off, and this is it. And now it goes into containers into the freezer. So really, all you need to add to this is some pasta and cheese, and you've got a beautiful dinner. You can also add mushrooms, courgettes, any kind of vegetables, broccoli, yeah, and it'll make a very nice dinner. You can also add some corn chunks if you like, if you're so inclined, meat or meat substitute. I try to reuse my freezer bags at least 3 times. So I've got some cleaned ones here, and I measure 1, 2, 2.5 spoons into each bag. Make sure I get the air out and seal the bag and let it cool before putting it in the freezer. And then these are vacuum sealed bags from the roll that I cut off on the other side, so I'm going to reuse those at least twice. So that's it for today. All my scraps go into the compost as usual. I hope you enjoyed the show, and there's 4 spaghetti dinners coming up. Lovely. Bon appetit.
4 bags of yummy tomato sauce ready for the freezer. Give it a go with Lolo. When you subscribe, you can get notifications, so you'll know whenever there's a new show.